It all started with a phone call. I'll never forget, the kind that cracks the world open under your feet. I was 30, sitting in my small apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes and a stale cup of coffee when I got the call. My parents had been in a car crash. Both of them gone, just like that. I won't get into the details. It's not the kind of pain you can describe in words. But I'll say this: no matter how old you are, when you lose the people who raised you, it hits like a freight train. And the grief, it doesn't knock, it kicks down the door and makes itself at home. So there I was, knee-deep in probate paperwork, funeral expenses, death certificates, and emotions I didn't have time to feel. The one thread I held on to was their house, the place I grew up in, the place they left me in their will. I figured once I got moved in, I could finally catch my breath. Maybe cry a little. Maybe start healing. I gave notice on my apartment, packed my stuff, and after about 3 months of paperwork, hell, I finally unlocked the front door of my childhood home, alone. And just when I thought I might finally breathe again, that's when the HOA came knocking. Now here's the thing. I knew for a fact my parents were never part of the HOA. I'd had a whole conversation with my dad years ago about it. I was fresh out of college, looking at condos, and every place had some kind of HOA fee. My dad just chuckled and told me, "Son, if you can avoid an HOA, do it. Nothing but trouble." So when this smug little letter showed up demanding over $10,000 in back dues, I thought, this has to be a mistake. I called them. They doubled down, said I owed them money from the past year. I told them straight, my parents never joined, and I sure as hell didn't. They said, well, someone needs to pay, like they were doing me a favor. I was broke from the funeral, emotionally wrecked, and apparently, in their eyes, vulnerable. Maybe they thought I'd just roll over, hand them a check, and cry into my pillow. But I'm not built like that. I told them I wasn't paying. Period. I didn't owe them anything. I didn't sign anything. And if they wanted to keep pretending, otherwise we could take it to court. What I didn't know, and what still keeps me up at night, is that they'd already taken steps before ever contacting me. While I was grieving, while the house sat empty, they had slapped a lien on the property for unpaid dues no one ever agreed to. And they were already moving to sell it. Within weeks, I got a notice from the city. The house my parents' home was being listed for sale. I rushed to City Hall thinking it had to be a clerical error. But nope. The paperwork was real. A lien for unpaid HOA dues. A home valued at nearly $700,000. Listed for $25,000. My jaw hit the floor. I asked who made the offer. The clerk gave me a name. It rang a bell, but I couldn't place it. That night, I Googled her. First search result, president of the HOA board. That's when it clicked. This wasn't incompetence. It was a setup. They wanted the house, dirt cheap, and they figured no one would fight back, not some baby-faced guy with no legal experience and a recent trauma weighing him down. But they didn't know who I was. And they sure didn't know my uncle. My uncle, bless him, is an attorney in another state. When I called him, he dropped everything and drove down that same week. He told me one thing: they're bluffing. They got away with this before, but not this time. He filed an injunction to freeze the sale and demanded a hearing. I walked into that hearing room surrounded by suits, HOA lawyers, city attorneys, and every one of them looking at me like I was a gnat on a windshield. Except I had something they didn't: the truth. The first question they asked: "When did you join the HOA?" I said, "Never." They blinked. I handed over my parents' deed, their will, and a written statement from my dad explicitly refusing HOA membership. No dues payments, no enrollment, no contracts, nothing. The HOA claimed they had the right to lien the home. My uncle asked for records. They had none. Not a single notice invoice or payment log. They had nothing to show that anyone had ever agreed to their terms. Then it got better. My uncle pulled out a stack of printed property sales, all from the same neighborhood, all sold under market value to the same person, the HOA president. Rental income listings followed. Turns out she'd been running a little real estate side hustle, grabbing foreclosed homes, signing coin, phony liens, buying them at slashed prices through internal deals, and flipping or renting them. The room went quiet. Now, this wasn't a criminal trial, but we made sure the district attorney's office was alerted. Within months, they opened an investigation. And guess what? I wasn't the only one. Turns out, this HOA had slapped liens on at least 6 other homes, all with questionable documentation, all sold to the same inner circle. Long story short, the president was indicted. Fraud, conspiracy, maybe even racketeering. I lost track of the charges. She got prison time, and without her, the entire HOA crumbled. Within a year, the signs were down, the board disbanded, and the fake dues stopped showing up in everyone's mailbox. And me, I moved back in. The house is mine again. No shady HOA, no fake bills, no vultures circling. Just peace, just quiet. Finally, a place to breathe and grieve, the way I should have been able to all along. Sometimes I still walk out to the mailbox, half expecting another notice. But all I get now are grocery store flyers and maybe a pizza coupon. And I smile. Because that chapter, it's closed. But here's what gets me. They picked me because I looked young. They thought I wouldn't fight. They thought I didn't know better. And maybe if it had been someone else, they would have gotten away with it again. So I'm asking you, how many others are out there who never fought back? How many families lost homes they never should have? How many shady HOAs are pulling this kind of scam behind closed doors? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Ever dealt with something like this? Should HOAs even be allowed this much power? Or is it time we rethink how these communities are run? If this story hit a nerve, like, comment, subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. Because one thing's for sure, silence is how they win. And I'm not staying quiet Not anymore.